We're back, 7:30 CBS Mornings, and this week marks the 80th anniversary of the D-Day invasion, a turning point in World War II that helped bring victory to the Allies in Europe. D-Day plus 80 years. American paratroopers played a key role in that assault, and 80 years ago this morning, they were getting ready for what would be the most consequential mission of their lives. Now, a group of congressmen is preparing to honor their sacrifice in a particularly high-flying way. Ed O'Keefe is at the World War II Memorial in Washington for us with their story. Ed, they're a big part of the reason why we're not speaking German right now.
Yeah, good morning, Tony. This memorial honors the 16 million Americans or so who served during World War II, including those who stormed the beaches or jumped from the skies over Normandy. And while conditions won't be nearly the same, this bipartisan group of lawmakers is hoping to recreate a jump that changed the course of history. Plunging from planes, under fire from below. Thousands of American paratroopers took the fateful jump over Normandy 80 years ago this week.
Every fifth man is a casualty, but they accomplished their objective.
Landing behind enemy lines to begin the long march to victory.
It is hallowed ground.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
Democratic Congressman Jason Crow and Republican Congressman Mike Waltz have some practice making this leap. Airborne! Both veterans themselves. Waltz served as an Army Green Beret and Crow an Army Ranger. They took a similar jump for the 75th anniversary. Woo!
You know, we may not always agree, but we have a common bond. That bond of military service, of brotherhood and sisterhood transcends party affiliation.
It's important for Americans to see us coming together. And look, we set the political party stuff aside. That stops at the ocean's edge.
Yeah, why is it relevant to do this on the 80th anniversary?
This will likely be the last large anniversary where we have some of the veterans actually joining us. So we want to show our appreciation to them specifically.
More than half a dozen fellow veterans in Congress will also be joining the jump. Some of them took a practice plunge in April to knock off the rust, which required a few reassurances about their day job.
When Speaker Johnson found out, he reminded us, said, Mike, you know we only have a one-seat majority.
Right.
And I said, well, Mr. Speaker, the plane is vintage, the uniforms are vintage, but the parachutes are new, so don't worry.
Later this week, they'll drop from the actual C-47 that led the invasion fleet on D-Day. Biggest misperception of jumping out of a plane is what?
That it's fun.
The Army tends to pull the fun out of everything, right? You hit like a ton of bricks.
But worth it to honor those who gave so much for freedom, especially as authoritarianism is once again on the rise in Europe.
This is important to keep their story alive, for us to honor them as veterans and as Americans.
The legacy of the greatest generation is secure. They did their job. When history came calling to that generation, they answered, and they made their sacrifices, and they did what they needed to do. Now it's on us. Fewer than 1% of Americans who served during World War II are still alive, with the youngest in their 90s. That doesn't mean they're all staying stateside, however. Over the weekend, American Airlines chartered a flight for about 60 of them to head to France for this week's commemoration ceremonies. Tony, I know you and I are headed there as well. Safe travels.
Thank you very much. I'll be taking a commercial flight, not jumping. Ed, thank you very much. But it is a very important milestone to mark 80 years.
Yes.
You want to remember the stories, honor the sacrifice, and preserve everything, because the stories are not being told by the living members who experienced it anymore, because they're all in their upper 90s now, if they're around at all.
Yeah.
Thank God for technology, though, because they still have the images, the pictures, and those interviews where you can understand what it must have been like as an 18, 21-year-old, you know, going into something that you didn't know if you were coming out alive.
Whenever you think the world is rotten and selfish, you think about what those men did on that particular day.
Yeah.
2,500 dead in the first 24 hours.
And you'll have boots on the ground.
I'll have boots on the ground, yeah.
Looking forward to
in our modest way. That'll be Thursday, live from Normandy, France. CBS News will bring you complete coverage of the 80th anniversary of the D-Day invasion.